about 1:48. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the City of East Cleveland's Financial Planning and Supervision. I'm going to go ahead and do the roll call. Dr. Kaver, previous to this, has expressed his apologies. He had a conflict that just came up. It's a work-related issue, so I certainly understand that. Okay, here we go. Mayor Norton.
Here.
Council President Thomas.
Present.
Marianne Nowak.
Present.
Helen Forbes Field. Here. Rob Frost.
Here.
Okay. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the prior meeting's minutes. These are from January 21st. At this point, I would take any amendments, corrections, additions.
I'll move that for you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Ms. Thomas moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Forbes Field seconds. Okay. I'll call the roll on that. Ms. Thomas? Yay. Ms. Forbes Fields?
Yes.
Mayor Norton?
Yes.
Marianne Nowak?
Abstain.
Thank you. Rob Frost?
Yes. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd also like to say that I'm really happy to see Mary Ann back and with all that she's been through is miracle working. So I just want to make sure that she understood and that the resident understood that she's been through trials and tribulations and she's back with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Report of the financial supervisor.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's going to be a pretty short report today. Everybody should be happy. The bank rep. I'm happy to report we are balanced to the penny again. And what we're doing is we're providing you the end of the year. The end of 2014. The city is doing great. I mean, in January we're reconciled, everything's good, but we figured 1 month's not going to tell you a whole lot. So we figured we'd give you the year end. The court accounts we've been provided, they're as of the end of January. So again, they're current on providing that information. Page 2 of your handout, just want to tell you that we're still monitoring the 13 remaining deficit funds, so there's 13, totaling about $4.8 million. Page 6, there's some, again, we should be at 100% because it's the end of the year. You can see the majority of these are grants. And again, timing of the grants, requesting the revenue for the grants, monies just weren't in yet by the end of the year. The other one is just simply what the city, like the self-insurance one, simply what the city paid in healthcare, whatever revenue went in there. Again, didn't have the revenue to pay all that healthcare by the end of the year, so that revenue is low.
If we could just stress that, because I know there's been some concerns about this. The city has established a fund, and the dollars that are coming out of employee paychecks for health care are going into the fund. Is that
Yes,
correct?
they are. Okay. Page 7, expenditures. There are some departments that are over the 100% threshold. And again, I want to remind you why that happened. Back in November, the city got some one-time revenues for the sale of the cell tower lease and the workers' comp rebate. As soon as the city got that revenue, very shortly thereafter, they put all that money on healthcare claims to get the healthcare caught up. At that time, you know, the city was available. They used this one-time revenue to get current on the health care for their employees. Kind of knew we weren't going to have enough appropriations, so when that December payroll came, there weren't weren't enough appropriations because they made that large payment to the healthcare, but the city made the payroll to give the people their paychecks around Christmas time. So that's why these departments exceeded 100%.
So in other words, this doesn't reflect necessarily any overspending in any of these departments or funds. It's simply a reflection of not enough appropriations overall because of the health care, the one-time only monies being expended. You had to use whatever appropriation authority was there to be able to pay.
Right. The city made all of its payrolls in 2014, so that's a blessing. The city didn't make any pension payments in December, but caught up in January. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Because the appropriations weren't there, they held those until January. Pages 8 to 10 show the same issues as just mentioned.
So, Nita, just so I'm clear, the pension payment, that was for the month of December and January, or the city still needs to make a January?
The city made the payment that was due in December in January.
Okay,
It made its January payment. We're current on pension currently.
okay.
The only thing we're not current on is back several years ago, there was a liability that was brought on everybody's books, a 35-year liability for pension. The city hasn't made that payment for 2014. So, but it's current on its police and fire and OPERS pension that corresponds with the payroll.
Nita, was that something to do with trying to centralize pension,
I think it
where
was. It was
folks
like
had
20 years
different
ago.
pension
I think
plans
it's-
established?
I think it's when Ohio Police and Fire was first established, and they came up with a liability and distributed it out to all their participants. And you had till 2035 in which to repay that.
So, Madam
Yes.
Chair, what is the number, the amount of
Pension.
that?
The total liability, you're just having the payment that was.
The total liability. If you got liability and you need to pay on it, and it's out there, then you need to know,
Sure.
I don't know what the balance outstanding is.
We can get you that then
but you have not paid on it.
for 14. It's due every year for a total of 35 years.
Yeah, I know it goes to 2035. I don't remember when
And
it's.
what is the amount to be paid on a monthly?
It's usually annually or semi-annually. Semi-annually.
So you don't know that number either?
We can get you that. It's in, it's not easily defined. All right, we'll get you that. The next thing I'd like to discuss are the payables. So you should have a separate listing as an aging account. As of February 19th, the city has about 3.3 million in bills that are owed, bills that are outstanding. And what Tisha and her group were nice enough to do is they kind of organized them for us. They've got some lawsuits which are still being, fought by the city. Then the health care amount we're breaking out so we can keep track of it because people always ask. So that's about $540,000 as of February 19th that is owed on the health care. And that's, again, it's broken up into 4 different categories. You can see what those are.
Madam Chair? And I know that I heard some of it, but what are we doing about that, Nestor? Okay.
The Nestor.
Yes,
I think we're still trying to, I remember before Director Riley left, that
Yeah.
there was a communication with Nestor.
Yes.
And I don't know, Mayor, if you know more than I do, but I know they talked to people up there in Rhode Island, wasn't it?
Yes, we're negotiating with them.
Okay. So they were hoping to get it down to very little.
Well, in the house of the new, law director, there has not been any movement on it, so I didn't know if there was something that, I might be missing. And, since we have not had a report on the last, negotiation or whatever is taking place on that.
We've not heard anything.
And just if you want an answer to the question, you know, we don't typically give a blow-by-blow report on what happened in every negotiation session. So, you know, there has been some level of progress, but, you know, nothing that's reported in terms of the final outcome.
With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I haven't had a report in my, finance committee, due to the fact that there's a transition between the law department. And I'm not asking for a blow-by-blow, but I do have updates on every other litigation which has not happened lately. We have not expressed in your report to the council anything that is taking place that has moved that would affect the, what we're talking about here as far as negotiations and the law director did express to the council that there had been a settlement of $125,000 in another area. So my thing is that ATS is suing us from another city, which is Rhode Island, and I think that the residents, if not me, would be interested in what was taking place. That's all.
Negotiate. Okay.
But I'll be asking for a report on that negotiation. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, sure. The only other thing we'd like to discuss is the status of the 15 budget. We can do that now or under board business, whatever you like.
Well, let's do it now.
Okay. You have in front of you, we wanted to draw to your attention the challenge that the city is facing this year. And that's why you've got this legal document. It's titled Estimate of 2015 Amended Certificate. And very simply, the column to your left tells you what the revenue is. The 14 column tells you the last certificate from the county for 14. The middle column tells you what the estimate is thus far in 15, and it gives you the change. So just very simply, 3/4 of the way down the page for the general fund. In 14, the city received close to 11.2 million. In 15, it's down to 10.2 million. So the city has gotten a reduction of about $1 million.
General fund.
Just the general fund, yes. And again, lion's share of it, if you start at the top, the property taxes and the local government was certified by the county auditor or fiscal officer up here in Cuyahoga. And that's almost 300,000 right there, just in taxes and local government. The refuse fee during 14, the city got a lot of delinquencies paid. And they're not anticipating the same amount because they got a lot done in 14. If you go down under other revenue, again, not as much traffic camera revenue, not as much revenue coming in as was anticipated, so that's a reduction. Then you had a couple one-time, actually 3 one-time sources that got us through 14 that we're not going to have again in 15. The workers' comp refund, the sale of assets, and the sale of the cell tower rights. So the city's in the process of looking at its appropriations. They passed a temporary to get them through the end of February. And we're gonna have to go to council again and ask council to pass a full year before the end of this month. And as part of, in helping the city, the court is now paying 3 employees out of other funds instead of the general fund. So that went a long way in helping, get this budget to where it is right now.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd also like to interrupt, and I want to, I think I did, thank the judge, because the judge didn't have to do it, he did. But he took his employees and put them under the special grant that he had. And that alleviated $130,000. And I wanted everybody to know that, that the court is contributing. And I am very pleased because he gave his word some time ago, and he kept his word that he would contribute, and that's his way of contributing. Thank you, Judge. That's it.
That's it. We should have appropriations for you next meeting.
I do have a question. Well, at least 2 that I can think of. I think at the last meeting we discussed with the temporary appropriations, it's only good, and I think you reiterated, it's only good through this month. So that means that we've got 2 working days, tomorrow and Friday. After Friday, there's no appropriation authority, so there's no spending.
I believe, and
Okay.
Council President Thomas can correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is the appropriations are like this close to being done. I just need to adjust a couple line items and get that to council. And my understanding is they're looking to have a special meeting tomorrow night in which to pass the 2015 permanent appropriations.
I guess I had another question on the estimate of the amended certificate. And in looking in some of the changes from 14 to 15, property taxes, we pretty much have seen that throughout. There's been a considerable adjustment in Cuyahoga County, plus other counties, to be quite honest with you. I did have a question on the local government money, though. That's coming from the county, so that would be the undivided that comes from the state to the county. And then the county has, what I understand, Cuyahoga County has an alternative formula. There's the statutory, and then there's the option to choose another alternative formula. And I did notice that's $220,000 difference from one year to the next. Was there a difference, comparable difference in what the county was getting?
We were told, because Tisha was at the county and asked for this that day when she was there, and basically the county got a, how much am I drawing? Percent was? All right, a much smaller percentage drop. But East Cleveland's seeing, you can see a 10% drop. The county did get less from the state, but the city is getting 10% less. So we have asked, we're going to look at the other subdivisions to kind of see what's going on, why East Cleveland got so much less. Because that's a concern, because you're working hard for everything. And when you get hit with this $200,000 hit, that was a little tough to swallow.
I would say so. And again, it's not for the commission to enter into a dialogue with the county and question the county's processes, but I think it just represents the fact and is illustrative of the fact that there are a lot of other factors in play here. and that certainly doesn't help.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and you know, I hate to keep interrupting,
No.
but it may not be the commission, but it is up to the council, and I would think it would be up to the administration to find out. When I first approached, when I heard it from the auditors, manager, Fish, and Nita, I was really upset about it, because not only did East Cleveland get a reduction, but Cleveland got a reduction, but all the other suburbs got an increase. And they were scurrying, trying to find out why. And nobody could tell us why, but they, like you said, my understanding is there's a special formula that goes with the division of, or disbursement of the monies. And at this point in time, you know, the perception, I would explain, might be that we're being coerced, so to speak, for lack of another word, for this merger to take place. But that's just a perception. By no means is that I'm saying that it's an intent. But I wanted to know how this formula works and why are we at this posture at this point when we're so low in revenue and everything else. I think we should be trying to formulate, do another formula that would help as opposed to not helping. I can understand maybe Cleveland going down because they have the money, but East Cleveland don't have the money. And I'm not saying that, so I don't know what the intent. I was waiting for the auditors to tell me, and they don't know. So it's kind of rough there to swallow. The next thing I'll be out doing, I won't be out picketing, but I will be down there beating on the door trying to find out what the problem is. Excuse my aggression.
Oh, no, it's fine. If it's of any value, I guess, in this case, the state of Ohio has wanted for years for Cuyahoga County to share their formula so that they could better understand, and have not been successful with that, so. You know, it's not, I know that the circumstances are kind of weird, but, yeah, it's been a mystery. Yes, sure.
Nita, can you explain why we will have such a reduction from the CDBG
funding? And how does that affect the financing of the snowplow trucks?
That's an excellent question. Actually, Tisha worked really closely with Jack Johnson on these revenues. And this is all that the city feels it's applying for so far, right? CDBG?
I believe so. We got the grant documents that reflected the $1,000,001, and so currently that's what's in the estimated resources.
So I guess we have to pay those, you know, towards the snowplow, that's for sure. So there's less to be used for other things.
Other things.
Is there any other questions? Okay, no questions, folks. I guess that really brings us right into the update on revisions to the recovery plan, since we've dabbled in old business already.
We were waiting to get the budget in place because everything's driven from the budget. So once that's in place, then we'll start looking to get some good news from the administration as to how we're going to do this recovery plan. So far, we've not attacked it. It's strictly been the budget.
Right. We
it's the basis, it's the foundation, and whatever happens in the future builds upon that, so.
I know you mentioned before about the special meeting tomorrow on the budget. Is the intention, yes, you come from it. Is the intention that is the final and it gets submitted? Because I know I thought the hard and fast deadline was March 31st.
Madam Chair, we have been waiting for the administration to give us something tangible that we can put our hands on. But only at the present time do we have the legislation that is to go forth and need to be dealt with. So we have put in place the legislation for the appropriation, if I'm not incorrect, and another legislation for it to be accepted. Am I correct? Authorize the mayor.
Correct.
I didn't want to say I'm doing this and you don't agree, and that's what we talked about.
No, as part of the 15 appropriations, the city is looking to close some unused funds and transfer that money into the general fund. And as I explained to Council President Thomas earlier, there's one resolution that gets passed to close the unused funds. And then the appropriations will include those transfers coming in. Some of the money coming into the general fund, it is the intent of the city to transfer that money back out to clean up some of the deficits. But Ohio Revised Code requires all closed funds to go into the general fund first. So that's the second resolution council is passing tomorrow. And the third resolution that council will be looking to do at a later time is directing the finance director to then transfer the money.
Also,
I believe that's what.
Also, Madam Chair, there were 3 grants that I think that my council was very, very concerned about, and that was the all-purpose grants, which was came about in 1997, which had quite a bit of money in it, and that was my legislation for the women,
single mothers trained.
Single parents, head of household. And it was a project that was supposed to have training and jobs and all of that, but nothing transpired. And my council was concerned about what this money could only be used for, and they hadn't got an answer. So I called Mr. Hendershot today, and Mr. Hendershot said that these grants could not be included in the appropriations because it was only for a certain purpose. And I had my clerk to email over a paragraph, and he said that he would confirm it and he would send it back. So now they have the documentation of this special purpose grant being not available. You can't take the CDBG monies and put it in with the regular appropriation. So the petition was wanting to know if she could put it in with the general fund, and her answer is no. So she don't have to worry about that no more. And I'm one of those people that I don't believe in just sending an email and waiting for it to call, come back. And that's what that was being done over the past time. So I called with Mr. Hendershot myself and got the information, and now it's documented that you cannot use it for anything. And hopefully, someone will come up with a project that is amenable to head of household jobs and all those other good things. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think that basically covers the old business. I have no other new business at this point. I mean, our business right now is waiting for the appropriations to pass and be in place and waiting for that recovery plan. And of course, in the midst of all that, the auditor's officer is monitoring the expenditures, revenues coming in, so forth.
And, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I want to just say, the council is working very hard, but we cannot do anything without the administration sending us information on what we need in the guidelines. As you know, that information is supposed to come from administration, and last time we got it, I worked very closely with the auditors, and we got the recovery plan together. I'm still waiting for administration to do their part, and with no punt at the mayor, but the administration needs to get up, get off, and produce.
Well, speaking of administration, let's go on to the report.
Madam Chair, I have to leave.
Is that your report?
Yes.
Okay, that was, we went out of order. That was a report.
I'm sorry, I think I get over.
No, that's okay. You're good.
It's fine. I'll wait for this. I won't do like you do us, get up and walk out. I will do. Wow.
I love you too. Okay, Mayor.
I don't know whether to be factual or be honest or be both. So we'll start with some facts. East Cleveland has 17,000 residents. About 5,000 of those residents are employed. About 7,000 are retired. About 2,000 are unemployed. And about 2,000 children. Right now, we have about 5,000 people who work, who are residents, who are essentially financially supporting a city of 17,000. More significantly than that, those 5,000 who work, 70% of them make less than $35,000 per year in a household. 42% of our residents live at or below the poverty line. It should be no surprise that there is a shortage of revenue when that is the population for which your revenue is wrong. We can all blame one another for it. We can all say different things about this, that, and the other. Somebody or someone needs to get up and get moving, but the fact of the matter is that none of us print money. We have a revenue shortage. More than just the 5,000 people who are financially supporting the population of 17,000. Retired people deserve to be retired. Retired people deserve that because of all the years of service that they provide. But more significantly than the fact that 5,000 people who work are paying for a population of 17,000 to receive police services, fire services, EMS services, street surfacing, street resurfacing, traffic signals, traffic lights, trash removal, snow plowing. This infrastructure, all the streets, all the street lights, all the buildings, all the sewers, all the water pipes, everything in this city is not only serving 17,000 people, but it's built for 40,000 people, which is the population that East Cleveland used to have. Today, we've got 5,000 working people who are paying to operate a place that is built for 40,000 people. That math is very tough math to deal with. No matter who the council members are, no matter who the mayor is, no matter who the commission members are, no matter who anybody is. When essentially that 5,000 and the houses that we live in are the sources of revenue for our city, being property taxes and the income taxes, it's going to prove exceedingly difficult to generate more money for our city. 99.9% of the cities in Ohio, the financial funding formula for a city works fine. They have enough money to pay for police, they have enough money to pay for fire, they have enough money to pay for parks and recreation, for senior services, for youth services, for snow removal, for trash pickup, and then have some left over in a rainy day fund or surplus. In East Cleveland, that's not the case. And it has not been the case for decades. What we have been doing is providing services probably that have outlasted their financial life, meaning the ability to pay for those services is no more. We have been forced to cut back in areas. We've been forced to close some facilities, not because we wanted as people to have fewer services for our residents and businesses, but because there's just not the money to do it. The financial formula that works for 99.9% of Ohio cities probably is not working anymore for the city of East Cleveland. And what we deal with and see on a daily basis are not the problems in and of themselves, but they are symptoms of the problem. Not repaving and resurfacing streets, not plowing every single street when it snows, not responding to every single time someone needs a police officer. Not when there's a crime committed, but when someone needs a police officer. Not providing Meals on Wheels to every resident who needs and deserves it. Not providing senior services anymore. We're witnessing those symptoms. What we have to realize is that if we keep paying attention to all of the symptoms in and of themselves, we will never get to the root problem, which is the financial structure, the foundation that our city is built on. In addition to that, we are all witness to and we all are entertained by, at some point, the political formula that a city is supposed to operate by. These elected officials are supposed to get it done. In some cases, elected officials can talk about each other. In some cases, elected officials can blame it on each other, but there's enough money to go around to make sure that everything gets done. But in East Cleveland, when there's not enough money to make sure that the things that are supposed to get done, there's a lot of willingness to blame it on this person or that person or this group or that group. But in reality, those two are just symptoms of a larger challenge, which is the financial formula doesn't work. And it has affected the political formula. So in the context of these financial challenges, in the context of these operational deficiencies, I would just submit as the report that we must focus on the root causes. And a structural challenge and problem and deficiency can only be corrected by a structural solution. It's time in East Cleveland that we develop our own structural solution. Not simply by naming a person who is or is not to blame, but by changing the whole structure under which we operate. I know that City Council has heard these types of calls. I will certainly make these types of calls. And over the next several months, we're going to explore and actually hopefully impanel the commission to explore a number of these options. Because these monthly meetings are, the revenue is only going to go down. It's going to go down no matter who sits at this table. The chance for East Cleveland to save itself and preserve some level of service for all of the residents is going to be determined in the next few months, and it's got to be determined by the residents. Thanks.
Any comments, questions for the mayor?
Madam Chair, did you want to read your report?
Oh, yes. I think it's no surprise at what the mayor has just said, because I think he repeated that, and he is repeating it several times over the Channel 9 along with the dancing. It is no surprise, and it should not be no surprise to my residents what has happened. And I don't think there is the issue of blame here. I think the issue was of the recovery plan, where it needs to come from, and who needs to initiate and go from there. I think that basically, like I said, the council has been working hard, and we have in East Cleveland lost a number of things that we could have kept. Naming one that we could have kept was Helen Brown. And I'm not talking about blame, I'm talking about misappropriation of bodies. If you put the right people in the right place that has the knowledge and the expertise to be in those positions, you could accomplish something. And when you're talking about the issue of political formula, you can't deal with accommodations of a political campaign and bring those promises into the city. Because what you get is nothing. And that's not a blame. We have the issue of